all the speakers here, and they'll be addressing most of these at the session. We'll move forward now, and I'll now request Ms. Geetika Srivastav, Executive Partner, Tattvam Advisors, to make a presentation on quarterly return filing and monthly payment of taxes scheme under GST, overview, benefits, and issues. Ms. Geetika is a chartered accountant by professions and holds experience of more than 11 years in the field of indirect taxation. She has worked with Messrs. Lakshmi Kumaran and Sridharan and PwC prior to joining Tattvam Advisors as executive partner. She has been assisting clients across the varied sectors: oil, gas, mines, minerals, telecommunications, and other sectors. Over to Ms. Geetika, please.
Thank you, Monica. Allow me to share my screen.
Please.
So first of all, thanks a lot to Team PhD for having me here for making this presentation. And special thanks to President Sir and Bimal Sir, who have set the context in which we are going to make the presentation, and also sensitize the participants what they should be looking for in this presentation, and keep their queries ready towards the end of the session so that we can answer most of them as per the time permits. So my topic is regarding the quarterly return filing and monthly payment of taxes scheme. As we see, the name suggests that the scheme is regarding the quarterly filing of returns and monthly payment. So if all in all, you see that this is more like a hybrid scheme, which has been brought in as a combination of a monthly tax scheme and a quarterly tax scheme. What they have done is that they have bifurcated this scheme into two parts. One is the filing process and the other is the payment process. So like the name suggests, quarterly returns, which means the returns should be filed on quarterly basis. But in order to ensure the interest of revenue and also to some extent might reduce the burden of taxpayers, the payments have been shifted from quarterly to the monthly payment scheme. So this is more like a trade facilitation measure, which is what the government has stated while introducing this scheme, so that the taxpayer can continue their filing returns on quarterly basis, but the payments can continue on the monthly basis. This scheme has been made effective from 1st January 2021. The eligibility of the scheme is for those taxpayers who are having their aggregate turnover up to 5 crore. The eligibility of this scheme is for the businesses who are having their aggregate turnover up to 5 crore in the preceding financial year. If you have exceeded this turnover, then you will not be eligible for the scheme. And also, if after you have become eligible for the scheme and you have opted for the scheme, if you become your turnover exceeds the 500 crores in any quarter, then you need to opt out from the scheme and go back to the monthly payment scheme. The question that comes up is whether this scheme is mandatory or optional. The answer is that the scheme is optional. It is up to the taxpayers to choose for the scheme. If they find it convenient, they can go for this option. If they don't find it convenient, they can continue with their existing process that they have been following. As regards to applicability, the scheme is applicable GST-IN wise. It is not necessary that you have to opt the scheme pan-India basis. You can choose the GST-INs for which you want to go for the scheme, and you can leave those GST-INs where you want to continue with your existing scheme. And when we say the GST-IN, it doesn't mean for different PAN. Even within the same PAN, if we have distinct persons category, where like a head office or a branch office, since there are different GST-INs for the purpose of GST law, the scheme can be adopted as per the need of the taxpayer. There are two important conditions which are linked with this scheme. The person who is opting for the scheme should have filed their return for the preceding month when they are exercising this scheme. And once you have exercised this option will be continuing unless until you yourself go and change it on the portal, or you become ineligible because you have crossed the turnover limit. Now let us see what is the manner of opting in and opting out of the scheme. We look into the specifics of the scheme later on. Before that, we should understand how a person can opt in or opt out of the scheme. There are certain changes which have been made under Rule 61A to bring in the procedure on the code. The scheme is available throughout the year. There is no mandate that you have to opt it either at the beginning of the financial year or a calendar year, as the case may be. You can opt it any point of time. This has to be opted by going onto the GST portal. There is a link over there which you have to click and do the procedure for opting for the scheme. For the first quarter, January 21 to March 21, what has happened is that the portal has automatically migrated certain taxpayers who were already having the turnover limit of 5 crores and who had filed their October month GSTR 3B before 30th November. So the system already migrated these taxpayers into the scheme without giving an option to them. So what was available for them, they could have opted out of the scheme. We'll see in the next slide how that is possible. In case there is a taxpayer who has not been migrated, maybe because of the system glitch or maybe for whatever reason the turnover had not been has increased the preceding year, and in the next year you want to go for in the scheme, then the scheme can be opted from the first day of the preceding quarter's second month and till the last day of the first month of the quarter in which you are going to exercise the scheme. This is about the opting into the scheme. Now see how you'll opt out of the scheme. The first point talks about those taxpayers who were automatically migrated to the system. For them, there was an option which was given from 5th December to 31st January, and they could have opted out from the scheme. But we got to know that many taxpayers were not even aware that they have been transposed to the scheme. So what was the way out for them? So the law has very clearly given, there's a circular which was issued by the department in this regard, that likewise, when you opt in for the scheme from a preceding quarter, same way you can opt out of the scheme. So if you are opting out of the scheme in a particular quarter, then from the second month of the preceding quarter till the first month of the current quarter from which you want to opt out of the scheme, you can opt out of the scheme and going via into the portal. And also, wherever you are exceeding the turnover of 5 crores, then immediately or at the end of the quarter, you need to opt out of the scheme and get into the monthly payment scheme. This is the most simplest illustration that we could sketch out for the understanding of the participants. I'll take only one example, rest will always follow the same process. Quarter one, let's say April, May, June, you want to either opt in to the scheme or you want to opt out of the scheme. This facility will be available from the 1st February to the 30th April, which means the second month of the preceding quarter, that is the February, from first day of that second month, till the end of the first month of the quarter for which you want to opt in or opt out, that is the 30th April. Similarly, for other quarters also, you can opt in and opt out of the scheme as per your convenience. These were the class of taxpayers who were automatically migrated under a deemed option scheme. So first two are taxpayers who have no change in their existing scenario. So anyone who was having a turnover up to 1.5 crore and was filing either quarterly GSTR1 or monthly GSTR1, the option for them remains same. The change that has happened is for this set of taxpayers, which was having turnover more than 1.5 CR and which was the turnover was up to 5 CR. So these guys were automatically transferred to the quarterly return scheme, whether or not they were opting any quarterly payment mechanism. So for them, the option is still there. If they want to opt out of the scheme, they can do it. And if they don't want to, like for coming quarter, April, May, June, till 31st March, till 30th April, you have the timeline to opt out of the scheme. So in case you feel that this scheme is not going to be beneficial to you, you can always opt out of the scheme. And those who have not been migrated or they will be exceeding the turnover in this current financial year by the end of the March, then those guys can also opt in till April, 30th April of the next quarter. Now, before you decide whether you should opt in and opt out, we'll see in the later slides how beneficial the scheme is and what are the issues relating to the scheme. That will help you in deciding whether you should go in for the scheme or not. Coming to the furnishing of outward supplies, like we saw, there is a quarterly filing which was being discussed in the initial part of the slide, that there is a quarterly filing of return which will be allowed. So what happens about the first 2 months? So government has introduced a functionality known as invoice furnishing facility. This has to be furnished for month 1 and month 2 of every quarter. And this has to be filed by 13th of the succeeding month. So this will be more like an uploading of details of your outward supplies, which you have to, which you are making in first month and the second month of the quarter. it is to be noted that this filing, filing of this facility will not be available after the 13th of the next month. So in case you are filing any details of April, then you will be able to file these details only till 13th May. 14th May, this filing will not be allowed. So therefore, you'll have to either park it over there, or you'll have to report it in GSTR1 directly. This scheme actually allows you the continuous uploading, something parallel to what we used to do in monthly GSTR1. If you want, you can start filing these details from 1st and you can do it till 13th. So this is one ease of reporting that has been provided by this functionality. There is one restriction in this functionality, that you can only report B2B supplies, which is the business to business, to the registered person, and any amendments or debit note or credit note relating to those supplies. However, this will include the exports also. Initially, when the scheme was introduced, the table 6 of export was missing. Later on, this was highlighted, and therefore this was added in the scheme as well. There is no need to report any exempted or nil rated supply in this scheme. There is no table available, so you cannot do that. For that, you will have to go to the GSTR1 only. And the another embargo in this filing is that the total value, the cumulative value of every month will be up to 50 lakh. So if you are having multiple taxpayers and if your total supplies exceed 50 lakhs, then maybe you'll have to pick and choose between those customers for whom you'll want to report it in the IFF and for whom you would want to carry to the GSTR1. This is something very unique that they have brought in, because normally this kind of a bifurcation we have not seen till now. Either you file complete supply or you don't file it. This is a mixed bag kind of a reporting that has been given. There's a limit of 50 lakhs. If you are having more than 50 lakhs, then you will have to report the balance supply in the quarterly return in GSTR1. Only good thing about this scheme is, from the recipient's perspective, that any report details which are being reported in the IFF will be auto-populated to GSTR2A and 2B, and this will facilitate the recipient to take their ITC. So linked with the previous point, there will be some kind of a discussion which may be required from your customers, or your customers may come back to you that, I would be willing to take any ITC in this month, so kindly report my supplies on the IFF this month in case your total supplies are exceeding 50 lakhs. So in a sense, there is some flexibility which is also available, but at the same time, there is duplication of the process which would be required. Anything which is reported in IFF need not be reported again in the GSTR1. GSTR1 will only require the reporting of the delta data, which will include any B2B supply which is exceeding the 50 lakhs threshold, any exempt supply, or any other kind of amendments, etc., relating to exempt supply, nil rated, etc. Now, the second part of the scheme, which talks about the monthly payment. This is a scheme which has given you a flexibility of making the filing the returns on the quarterly basis. So return means GSTR1. IFF is not a return. It is only a facility for uploading the details. So your return goes in at the end of the quarter, but the law requires you to make the payment on the monthly basis. Now this payment has to be done through a PMT 06 challan. And how you have to calculate the amount that you have to pay? There are two methods which have been prescribed under the scheme. One is the fixed sum method and one is the self-assessment method. To start with the simple one, self-assessment method is like what we do today. We calculate our total liability, we take into account the ITC, whatever is payable, we calculate that amount which is paid through the cash ledger, deposit the amount through PMT 06, and we close the liability. So this thing you'll have to do for M1 and M2 of the quarter. Unlike in the case of quarterly return, when you're doing it only at the time of filing 3B. So this is something which is a deviation from the existing quarterly filing process. Now coming to the fixed sum method. This is a kind of a facility in a sense that has been provided to the taxpayers, that if they don't want to follow the self-assessment method, there are two types of filers that they have taken into account. The people who are filing their quarterly 3Bs, they can take the 35% of the tax which has been paid through cash from the preceding quarter. So it's like a notional value, not the actual value. This is based on the previous quarter details and the tax that you have paid. Take the 35% of that tax paid from the cash account and pay the taxes for M1 and M2 based on that amount. Those who are into monthly filing will have to follow 100% tax calculation. So once you file these returns M1 and M2 based on this fixed sum method, then irrespective of fact that your actual liability is less or more, the department will not be concerned about it. You opt for this method and you pay the taxes based on this notional value based on the previous returns. Like I mentioned, the tax payment in this case, normally what happens is that in quarterly filing or maybe in the monthly filing, we may discharge our taxes to 3B and we deposit certain amount in our cash ledger through PMT 06. Now, in this case, the government has asked the taxpayers to deposit this amount for M1 and M2, even if they have not filed the GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B through PMT 06, and the deadline is to file it by the 25th of the next month. There is some exception to this rule that you need not deposit any amount if you have sufficient cash amount lying in your ledger, which is equivalent to the tax liability which needs to be discharged for those respective months, or you have a sufficient credit ledger amount in the credit ledger. Meaning thereby, if there is any tax liability which has to be paid through cash, then there is this notional amount you need to deposit through PMT 06, and it would be considered as if you have paid the tax for that month's liability to the government. The question comes that because I'm paying the taxes based on the previous month's liability, there could be a situation that I might pay something which is more than the existing liability. The law has given that flexibility to the taxpayers that in case you have deposited something in the your cash ledger through PMT 06 challan, and your existing tax liability, when you do it at the end of the quarter, you find out that the total liability is less than what you have deposited, then either you can use this amount for your future liabilities or you can claim the refund. So as per the tax convenience, if they are falling short of cash or they find it difficult in terms of working capital, they can always claim the refund of this amount which they have deposited in excess. So in nutshell, after filing IFF for the M1 and M2, then at the end of the quarter, GSTR 1 has to be filed like you used to file for the quarterly payments by the 13th of the next month. With regard GSTR 3B, this has to be filed by 22nd or 24th day of the month. These dates are depending upon the specific states. The calculation will be simple, like you used to do earlier. 3B, declare your supplies, take the ITC benefit, and see whatever is payable for the, because you have deposited tax only for M1 and M2, which is lying in your ledger. Then you have to allocate this liability towards the 3B and discharge your liability by way of furnishing the 3B. Next 2 points are same, which we have discussed, that if in case any amount which is deposit, if it is left, you can offset it with the next liability or you can claim the refund. In case for any reason you are your registration is cancelled or you are opting out of the registration, then you will have to file the GSTR 3B of the quarter. Sorry, if you are cancelling before the end of the quarter, between month 1 and month 2, then necessarily you will have to file the GSTR 3B before you apply for the cancellation. Like in normal cases, wherever there is any payment, tax payment required by the taxpayers, in case of any delayed payment, there is an interest liability which carries along with the delayed payment. In both the methods, these interest liabilities have been provided. In case of month 1 and month 2, since the payment is made by PMT 06 and it has to be made by 25th of the following month, if an assessee is not able to make the payment by 25th for the month 1 and month 2, then from 26th till the time he makes the payment, the interest liability will carry. Same thing will apply when you are filing GSTR 3B. If you have paid it on time, then there is no interest. So even if, let's say, you go for a fixed sum method, like we were discussing earlier, in the fixed sum method, you have taken a notional amount based on the previous month's or previous quarter's experience. And when you do the actual liability, there could be a situation that the liability is more than what you have paid in the PMT 06. Since you have opted this notional method, there will not be any interest liability provided you have paid that notional amount by 25th of the next month. If you don't pay this amount, irrespective of the fact whether the liability was less or more, the interest liability will get attracted. The self-assessment method goes the same way, like in normal taxpayer, wherever you have not filed your returns, monthly return, quarterly returns, or you have not made the payment of the monthly liability by way of PMT 06, then you'll have to pay the interest. In this method, you don't have any safeguard because this is on the actual basis. You cannot claim that there was some notional amount which we had calculated. So assessees have to decide it very carefully which method they would want to adopt and how they can protect themselves for any interest liability. Let's say if they are having a lot of differences in the every quarter, the turnover keeps on fluctuating. So they need to decide whether self-assessment method is a more beneficial method for them or the fixed sum method is a beneficial method for them. This is just a table giving an example. I'd like to skip. I think we need to finish this on time. Coming to the late fee, like any return, if you are not filing returns on time, the late fee is attractive. This table is reflecting what is the late fee which is applicable as on day. And the question that comes up is whether late fee is payable on the IFF or not. The answer is no, because IFF is not a return. It is just a facility for reporting the invoices. Therefore, there is no need for paying any late fee. However, the late fee will be attracted if the payment which has to be made for month 1 and month 2 of every quarter has to be done by 25th, and that has not been done. Another point that needs to be noted is that you cannot file an IFF after 13. So question of late filing and fee will also not arise. So you'll have to keep in mind the late fee will be applicable in 2 cases, or rather 3 cases. One, when you have not filed your paid your PMT 06, that will attract interest as well as late fee. Then your quarterly GSTR 1, if you have not filed that by the required timelines, and also the GSTR 3B. So these are the 3 instances where the late fee will come into play. Now coming to the benefits of the scheme, like we saw there is a functionality which has been given for filing of the returns, details of the B2B supplies, and then there is a quarterly payment of taxes which is there. How beneficial the scheme can be for the taxpayers? First, between the suppliers and the recipients, the best thing that is
नहीं आपको बोलना पड़ेगा.
Sorry, coming back to the benefits of the scheme, wherever there is a situation where in case of quarterly filing, there is a requirement of monthly updation of IFF helps the recipient to take the ITC on real time. This is something which is a benevolent situation for the recipient when they are dealing with the small taxpayers, which was not there in the quarterly filing, because there they used to file their returns also, GSTR 1s also on the quarterly basis, and the tax was also paid. Now through this IFF facility, at least the benefit of ITC can be passed to the recipients, even if the supplier is discharging their returns and filing their 3Bs on the quarterly basis. Definitely the number of 3Bs and GSTR 1 is going to reduce, because from monthly you come down to quarterly, the number slashes down. First 2 quarters, they allow you to give most of the details of the GSTR 1. So this is going to be a very beneficial scheme for those taxpayers who are having majorly B2B supplies which do not normally exceed 50 lakhs, or those who are having larger chunk of B2C supplies. So wherever there's a credit facility that needs to be passed on, they can go for this functionality, file it on IFF, pass on the credit. And because in the B2C, the credit is not there in the question, the filing of IFF and GSTR 1, even if it is in the quarterly at the quarter end, will not affect the customer. Another important aspect of this scheme is the flexibility to opt in and opt out. This is very important. Any person can opt in and opt out of the scheme, like we saw in the earlier slides. So wherever you find that the scheme is not helping you, or you are ending up paying more taxes, or you find it more difficult in terms of compliances, you can always opt out of the scheme. There is no embargo that you have to follow the scheme for the entire financial year. Only for the quarter. Once you complete the quarter, for the next quarter, you can always opt out of the scheme. The last benefit which I foresee is that the monthly payment of taxes reduces a lot of cash outflow burden on the quarterly payments. So for the quarterly taxpayers, if they opt for the scheme, they had no option but to collect the taxes burden with them. And at the end of the quarter, they were supposed to pay those taxes. Now here you can break your tax payments into parts, and you can always arrange your funds and pay the taxes on the monthly basis. It need not be accumulated for the end of the quarter. After seeing the benefits, let us see what are the downside of this scheme. We saw that there is an auto migration which has happened. many taxpayers were not aware, and maybe now after the seminar, when most of you would want to go back and see whether you have been auto migrated or not, you need to opt out of the scheme, because once you fall in the scheme, you have to follow the pattern of the scheme, the payments and the filing facility. So people who were auto migrated, they have to forcibly go. So while it was an optional scheme, but the system auto migrated them, so adding on to one layer of compliance for them. Regarding the multi-locational GSTINs, it may become sometimes tedious for the taxpayers to decide whether they want to, more so when they are going for an optional scheme in one state and not in the other state. So this would require, more specific attention from the taxpayers to decide wherever they are following the quarterly scheme, how to do the compliances, and likewise in the cases where they are not under the scheme. IFF, people think that this is an additional burden. Answer can be both yes and no. If you have most of the data which can be reported in IFF, you fall within that limit. This is definitely not an additional burden because your compliances are streamlined on monthly basis. You can simply file the reporting in IFF, and while filing your quarterly return, if anything is missing, you can report it in the GSTR1. Otherwise, you need not file the data which is already filed in IFF once again in the GSTR1. It can be difficult for those people who are having mixed bag of supplies. So there could be B2B supplies, there could be B2C supplies, there would be exempted supplies which are B2B supplies which are crossing 50 lakhs threshold limit. So all these mixed bag supplies, people who are dealing with this kind of supplies would definitely have a challenge in following this functionality. The next point is linked with this, the reconciliation between IFF and GSTR1. If you are not, you're having this kind of a mixed bag, then definitely you'll have to file certain supplies in GSTR1, which you were not able to file in IFF. So doing that reconciliation becomes one more task for the taxpayers. They are already having a lot of reconciliations with them. This adds to another reconciliation. Second last point is about the different methodologies of the taxpayer payment under self-assessment method and the fixed sum method. Just wanted to highlight that there is no restriction that once you opt for one method, you cannot opt out of this method. Like you can opt in and out of the scheme, you can also opt in and opt out of these methods. You can always go for it, and this can be done within the same quarter also. So not necessary that if you have gone for a self-assessment method or a FSM method in one quarter, you need to carry that method. You can always swap between these two methods. So this becomes one more exercise for the taxpayer to decide that which method is going to be helpful for them, whether they can follow this method continuously, or depending upon their businesses, they need to keep on switching over between these methods. So one more calculation requirement which could be there. And the last thing is the revamping of the accounting and filing. This is very important because till date you have been following particular system, and now you'll have to revamp the accounting practices, the filing practices, if you are opting in for the scheme. With this, I would like to conclude the session and hand it over to Monica.
Thank you,